you for joining the January 14th, 2026 regular meeting of the MDD Board of Directors. The time is 4:00 p.m. and we will start with the roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. President Laura Kerner,
Here.
Vice President Nicholas DeCiani,
Here.
Secretary Keith Roden,
Here.
Treasurer Mike Lovelace will not be present today, David Fairhurst,
Here.
Ruben Olvera, and Stephen Robertson.
Present.
With 6 of 7 members present, a quorum is declared.
Thank you. And we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next on our agenda is citizens to be heard. And has anyone signed up for citizens to be heard? No one has signed up? Okay. Moving on to our consent agenda. We only have one item on the consent agenda, and that's the approval of our last meeting minutes. Does anyone want to pull anything off of the consent agenda? Okay, hearing not. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Reports. First report, well, the only report, is of the financial and investment report, and that's going to be Summer.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board. So this is the quarterly financial and investment report for the quarter ended December 31st. It's provided in compliance with the district's investment policy and summarizes the district's financial activity and investment position for the first quarter of this new fiscal year. So I'll start with the statement of revenues and expenditures on page 5 of your agenda packet. Because we're only 3 months into the fiscal year, activity to date is limited and largely reflects routine operations. For the quarter, the district collected $46,000 in sales tax for October, and I accrued an additional $105,000 for November and December sales. Interest earnings for the quarter totaled $38,501, which is tracking slightly ahead of budget expectations. Year-to-date expenditures total $36,846, primarily consist of the annual management fee and annual audit fees. Sales tax revenue projection for the year remains unchanged, but I'll continue to monitor that monthly. And then the projected increase in fund balance is driven by that higher than budgeted interest earnings, resulting in a projected ending fund balance of about $4.4 million. Moving to the investment reports, as of December 31st, the district's investments totaled approximately $3.8 million and are held in 2 local government investment pools, Tex Pool and Texas Class. And then we have the operating account balance of approximately $39,000 in Frost Bank.
Any questions? Thank you, Summer. Next is first consideration item, which is consideration and possible action approving the MDD audit report for fiscal year ended of September 30th, 2025, and this will also be Summer.
Yes, so this is the audit results for the fiscal year ended September 30th. The district's required independent annual audit has been completed by Brooks, Watson and Company, and that final annual financial report was included in your packet, and I provided bound copies for you. But I am pleased to report that the district received a clean audit opinion. So this means that the auditor concluded that the financial statements fairly present the district's financial position and results of operation in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. There were no audit findings, no material weaknesses, and no instances of non-compliance reported. So I'll just walk through the report at a high level. Starting on page 1 is the independent auditor's report, which contains the auditor's formal opinion and overall conclusion of the audit. And then in the report, moving to pages 7 through 10, that section is the management's discussion and analysis, or MD&A. It's the narrative overview of the district's financial activity for the year. It explains what changed from the prior year. Given the nature of MDD, activity remains relatively limited and consistent. Revenues continue to be driven by sales tax and investment earnings, and expenditures are largely administrative costs, with grant activity occurring as approved by the board. The The financial statements begin on page 13 of the report. That's the statement of net position, which functions much like a balance sheet. So at September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, the district reported total assets of approximately $4 million, consisting of cash, investments, and sales tax receivable. Total liabilities at year end were approximately $226,000. Now that represents a payable to the city related to the Gateway Monument grant. This was a timing item, just reflecting the approved grant that had not yet been paid as of year end. After liabilities, the district's total net position was approximately $3.76 million. And turning to page 15 in that financial report, that's the statement of activities, which reflects all the revenues and expenses for the year. Total expenses were approximately $268,000, again, the largest component being the grant to the city. Total revenues were about $700,000, consisting of sales tax collections and investment. Overall, the district experienced an increase in its net position of almost $432,000 last fiscal year. We did have a presentation, but I was just going to put up that the auditor could not be here today to deliver the report, but they remain available should the board have any follow-up questions specifically for the auditor. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All good.
Summer, do we think we're going to have the same auditor again next year, or how does that work?
I believe so. It is recommended to enter into multi-year agreements, 3 to 7 years. And so this was just the second year that Brooks Watson conducted the audit. So I expect that they would continue next year for the city and for the.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to accept the MDD audit report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025 as presented? Is there a second?
I second.
Wait, I heard, okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Who got it? Steven?
Steve, yeah. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Our next agenda item is a workshop item. So thank you to Nick and the Marketing and Project Subcommittee for bringing this workshop item to us. I know we were trying to find a special meeting to hopefully do strategic planning, but we had a light agenda, and I'm glad we were able to get it done now. So we'll really start it. How about that?
Start it, probably.
Start it. I do want to share before we get started, I have been invited to participate in stakeholder meetings for strategic planning at the city level as the MDD president. I'll be going to my first meeting next week. So I can come back and share what I learned from those meetings at our next meeting as well. Or bring what we've talked about here to that meeting. Okay? Okay, you'll be at the 20th one? Okay. All righty, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Nick,
Okay.
for this agenda item.
Yeah, I did not put any PowerPoint together for this. I'm going to just talk through it. Did everybody receive that memo that came from Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, and you had a chance to read through it, I hope.
Yes.
Okay. Expectations for today. Normally, a brainstorming session takes, hours, maybe even days. When I was at Bell Labs, it would take weeks. But it is an open mic sort of thing, but if we can keep our discussions to less than 10 minutes each, that would be good, because we can go home and have dinner. That would make my wife happy. Discussions are what we need to have, and there's no bad ideas, none, zero. And we probably will not have a plan at the end of the, just the beginning of the effort. The criteria that I had, actually the output that we're going to hopefully have after this session is to have the ideas listed out Hopefully, we have a couple that will overlap or be very similar, so we can consolidate those. The marketing committee will then take and run with that and try and run down some of the loose ends that we know we're going to have. And when I go through my presentation, I think you'll see what I'm looking for. Target is to have a preliminary report back to the board by April. That may be challenging, but it's something we're trying to do. We don't want to be sitting on this.
Can I ask a question on that?
Certainly.
When you say preliminary report, is that going to be with recommendations of action or just your assessment of the situation?
Right now, I think it's going to be the assessment of the situation.
Okay,
We may, if let's say we all come up with the same idea, we might have something more, but assuming 4 or 5 different ideas, I hope, on the traps on that.
do you think the output would be a strategic plan for the MDD or just a list of ideas?
At this point, I don't think we could put it into a planned form. That's going to require a little bit more effort. We're going to need access to the city staff, is what I'm sure of, and the city attorney. So there's a lot of things. Once we get the ideas piled and we sift through those, come back and be a little bit more. I can give updates in between now and April through Amanda. But if there is something that does jump off the page that we can jump into right away, we could have a special meeting. The ideas for the projects, in the memo I sent, or Amanda sent out for us, we're going to try and stay with what the city has said they want to do, and that is we focus on things that will provide safety, hold down costs for the residents, improve the quality of life within where we can, and if we can make a return on investment, I think that's one of the things we want to do. We know that there's going to be a lot of issues, legal issues, zoning issues, availability of resources, ongoing cost, and future operational costs. So any of these ideas, we're going to try and get to those kinds of elements. So when you're making your pitch for the idea that you brought, if you just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, I'll start off.
So can you just,
Sure.
I guess, let's level set down. So what we're trying to do is brainstorm ideas to solve a problem, the problem being,
We have too much money and nothing to spend it on.
check, okay?
Yeah, I thought we had that on the last.
I know, but it's been 3 months. Okay. So let's just kind of,
3 hours is enough for me.
exactly, so.
Okay, so, any more questions on the process?
And so we are not limiting ourselves, we're not constraining ourselves to law or anything. We're going to throw out all ideas and then we'll assess them against what we can and cannot do.
That's right. We had Dan's presentation on what we could do,
Yeah.
which was really timely and very helpful. But if we get outside the lines on that, that's okay, because. All right, right to the point, because I don't want to take a whole lot of time with just me. The idea I have is we should purchase some land. I think that buying dirt right now is a good idea. We can protect the city with the right kind of development that we want to use. And I don't know what that development is right now, but I'll give you at least some of my thoughts. There are parcels of land within the city that we could go after. There are parcels of land adjacent to the city that we could go after, but we might have to annex, which is similar to what they did at the water tower. The use would be to find a developer, turn that over to him, recoup the costs as best we can, but we know we're going to exceed some. And we're not talking about building a mall, we're not talking about building high-rises, we're not talking about, another car wash. What we're talking about is some low business style development. You might have things like my favorite, the UPS store, which I visit frequently. It's either in Bernie or it's down in other towns. I think that would be a great way to offer some safety, because you don't have to drive on the highway with all the crazies. You don't have to get out on 3351 with all the trucks. The tax revenue that you could get from that would not be a bad idea for the city. And work opportunities for the locals, the kids that might want to work there on spring break. And, I was in college, I was always looking for a job. The reduced travel time, I think, is kind of a two-edged sword. It's safety, and it's also quality of life. So I think I hit most of what I had put out as criteria. Now, when you buy land, especially since we've never done it before, there's going to be lots and lots of issues. I think the kind that I'm looking at right now is finding the right piece of property in the right location at a cost that's reasonable. Don't want to put it into residential areas, which is going to make it even harder. But I think we can do things if we are allowed to rezone and mentioned there's not much land available directly across the street, but there are things that we might be able to do. Other considerations and issues are the initial cost, how do we do that? And then how do we transfer that? And who's going to own it once it's done? And I'm thinking that depending on how it works, we could recoup most of the investment. The next phase. This is not a short-term project. This is going to take years. That's at least one idea I have. The other idea I have is a scaled-back community center. All been through that. So you know that there's value, at least to some people in town, to have a place that you can come and use, other than the spotted deer. What I'm suggesting is that we make a scaled-back version of what we had tried to do with the last one. And that would be something that it could be a senior center, it could be a civic center, it could be a community meeting place. It would not be a big hall. It would be 3,000 to 4,000 feet at most. It's like a big house. And it could be built in such a way that it could grow either up or out. That's my idea. The benefits, obviously, the community could take advantage of this for clubs, HOAs, Rotaries. There's a number of organizations within the town that could really benefit by having a place to go and not have to try and squeeze into the church's schedule or country club schedule. It could be reasonably priced out. The location, again, would be an issue. We've gone through that. It's a knotty issue. We have to find a location that is suitable. The ownership of it would have to be worked out, and the ongoing cost. So that's basically what I have in my head that I would like to share. Questions?
You.
Nick, I got a question. On the purchase of land, are you thinking it would be something to generate more income for the fund, for the district, so that we can deploy it? I'm just thinking when it's a big project, right, that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Acquired it, hiring a developer, creating some kind of structure, marketing and so forth. Were you thinking that would be something that the MDD would own and operate like a corporation? Or would it be something we would try to develop and sell for a profit? What's just kind of your
I'm
thoughts?
thinking that we'd probably buy the land, okay? We can get the right kind of developer, and that's where we do the auditions. And we would have say in what kind of businesses would go in. That's a real important element, because we want bars or car washes. Not that car washes are bad, it's just that we. But to address your question, Keith, I think that my view, at least, at this point in time, and it may change, that we would buy the land, get the developer, and say, look, we're going to give you such a deal, we're going to give you half price on this. Developer would then hopefully have the ability to go out and market and bring in construction work that we approach is at least. I've never done this before, so
Yeah.
It's maybe a learning curve if it's the right thing to do.
I think one more thing when you think about that is what you're saying is, one, a lot of work, two, and two, a lot of EDCs have their own standalone staff that they hire and pay for that would manage that. Because otherwise, we would have to increase our costs to the city, because they would have to do all that, because we are not doing that, because we are policy-making board, we're not a working board, right? And so that means that would require hiring someone, whether it be a service of the city or somebody else, to manage all said things you just said. So that would be additional costs. Just keep that in mind in your back of your head.
That would be one of the investigations, how we
Okay.
would do this.
Just keep that in mind as we start thinking of each of these ideas operationally. How would we do that as an organization? Have contracted support with the city to do predominantly governance and administrative running of the board, not necessarily operational running of day-to-day.
Right.
Thanks for your ideas. Love them. Okay. Let's move on. Who wants to go next? Any idea?
I'll go.
Okay.
You'll find a package in front of you, which is titled Water Assets Conservation Programs. And my visual aid, this bottle of water. This is our aquifer. This is full. Our aquifer's not full, and it's not even half full. So bottom line is we're running out of water, and we need to have enough water, and we can't make water. So my idea is that we market the use of MDD funds to private community, as in unit HOAs, civic, commercial, or government entities implement water conservation programs. This is under the small projects process. So for example, somebody goes out, and when we talk about small projects, we're talking about Boy Scout projects, building a footbridge, things like that. So in this case, perhaps a business or a homeowner wants to bring in some sort of a water efficient process to help them save water. This again helps the owner, and it helps the overall water supply for the city, which we know is, we're in drought conditions right now. So some of the examples we can do is rainwater harvesting. And you're thinking, well, we need rain. Yes, we do need rain. But with rainwater harvesting, and one of your attachments is actually from, when you go into the Fair Oaks Ranch website, there's links to check into different ways to conserve water. And this is one of the links it took me to, which is called Rainwater Harvesting in Central Texas. And it talks about using a rain barrel for a small house, a cistern, part of the process is rain gutters. So the concept here is a homeowner or business owner wants to put in a rain barrel, and they vary in sizes from for a house or to a business how much you can store the water. And some cities, for example, Corpus Christi had a program to provide rain barrels to the citizens. I'm not saying do that here. I'm looking at a reimbursement program. So somebody goes out, a homeowner, and they decide, so they don't have gutters, they don't have a rain barrel, they put it in, and then they can come back and ask for reimbursement from the MDD funds. And last time we talked about the small projects process, I don't think we actually decided on what the amount, the max amount was for that. I put $5,000 as a point, as an amount right here to work with. So that system's already in place. People go in for a reimbursement, and it minimizes the impact on the MDD. Again, it's a brainstorming session because we haven't had any of these small project process applications. Other options, in addition to rainwater harvesting, is that water efficient appliances, shower heads, aerators, high efficiency toilets, high efficiency washing machines. You can put that in, and again, a homeowner can put in for reimbursement. Say they spend $2,000 on putting this stuff into their house. They put in for reimbursement. Again, this is a private issue in terms of the applicant, but it's helping the overall water supply for our community. Another option is smart landscaping. Many of the HOAs have out-of-date requirements. I know because I'm volunteering with a certain HOA. For example, xeriscaping was banned by our HOA. We are reviewing that and hoping to update it. But xeriscaping is a very important process for saving water. Now, a homeowner might want to xeriscape, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, their front yard, their backyard, whatever. They might exceed $5,000, at which point they can do a regular application. And again, this is something that's going to help our water supply. Other options, for example, composting, that helps produce mulch. You put mulch around your trees as per the write-up I have referenced here at the end in the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, their website. Mulching trees, bushes, things like that helps preserve water. Finally, permeable ground cover. You're thinking, what in the heck is that? When somebody builds a house, there's a requirement of how much land they can cover with a concrete slab or a sidewalk or a driveway. Because when they do that, that prevents water going through the ground and feeding the aquifer. I've read that some neighborhoods now, some land developments are going with permeable land ground cover. So instead of a driveway that is I believe this phrase is sanded concrete, something like that. But anyway, it's a concrete slab. You can go with different little plates that have holes in the middle. That way you have a driveway, you have a sidewalk, but the water can go through that, which makes more water go into the aquifer. I know our HO requires all driveways and sidewalks have to be smooth concrete, which again, we're losing the ability to save more water. Meeting your requirements, bottom line is, this is safe. Number two, it's a plus to the community because it's about the water supply. And basically number three, it's something that needs to be done. And it's not a strategic plan, it's a tactical plan. The process is in place to where the MDD can help fund this. And it's something we got to do. Because like I said, we can't make water. We got to save the water we got. Any questions?
Questions?
So we would be going, funding to the individual homeowner is
Or it could be the HOA.
probably not.
Speaking for my own HOA.
I'm speaking for mine.
Yeah, I know. We have a pretty proactive group right now, but that can always change. So yes, or a business.
Because the ownership of the collection is going to be the homeowner, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But one of the things you mentioned was improving, or actually the MDD mission is about improving property values.
Right.
And that certainly helps.
Well, it's another factor.
It is. I highlighted, part of our mission, the funds collected by MDD are be used to help fund projects, commercial, civic, and governmental, provide for economic, social, and civic growth while ensuring or increasing property values. I know you wrote it. So anyway, I'm throwing that thought out there. It's just, there's a problem there. This is a way to help. And if there's, I don't know, say, however many homes we have in Fair Oaks Ranch, if each of them saves 10 gallons per year, multiply it, that's more water that we're saving that can be used for all these new developments and all these new homes that have to have brand new yards.
With wells.
Yes, with wells. So, just a thought.
Why is xeriscaping banned?
Well, our HOA, it's a very old guideline because it's not pretty.
Oh,
It didn't match the aesthetic design for the neighborhood. And that was like 20 years ago they wrote that when we had lots of water. Now we don't. So I can only speak for my HOA. And we are reviewing that right now.
I think xeriscaping is not really a bad idea. We're pushing it in our HOA too.
well, originally, when I first moved here, it was promoted by the city.
Yeah.
Want to go next?
I think there's a
Oh,
question there.
oh, you have a comment or question? Yes. Please, yes, please come up to the podium, please. I'm sorry. We just need to be on the audio. And you do have to say your name, that's all. Okay.
Christine Graham, Centerfold Estates. My question, Steve, I like your idea. Would something like that, for future thought, be allowed for private HOAs?
And that would be something we would investigate after we get through all of our ideas. But let's write that down, so, okay.
Please, thank you.
I believe all HOAs are private.
Are private,
They're
yeah.
nonprofit, private organizations.
Okay, so you mean gated?
Oh, gated.
Okay,
Gated, you're talking
Okay.
about gated. That really only applies to the road maintenance, that if it's gated, that HOA has to maintain its roads, but otherwise, there's no difference.
well, it restricts access.
Yeah.
So the public, yeah. The public doesn't have access to that area. So that's a good point, so we'll talk through that. That would be a question for all of them, right? Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Sure. Does anybody have?
Oh,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I could just
I carry
use
a
his.
lot of things with me, but that is not one thing.
Steve gave me his.
I did. But I
And did you get the presentation?
I did, I'll put it up right now.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Okay. So the map here, as you can see that in the title, is from the city ordinance from 2018, City Ordinance 2018-6, page 47. And you know, I periodically get in to check TxDOT. TxDOT had for quite a while, you could just type in FM 3351 expansion, and you'd get to a page, and to a fact page, and on that fact page, you know, it said they were taking community input and that they were working with the city of Fair Oaks Ranch, and there was a hyperlink. You click on that hyperlink and you got right to our city ordinance. And that page is now gone. I have a copy of it, but it's gone, and there's a new page, which I'll show in a minute. But my idea is this map that you're seeing, which I didn't develop or come up with, it was in that last time that the city and residents got together and said, here are possible railway linkages that we could put up. And the red X's represent what was taken from Fair Oaks Ranch by TxDOT. Now, in that process, they did it via eminent domain. And the reason they went directly to eminent domain is that if they reached out to all it's a 4-HA parcel, so, 93% of the population, they would never get a complete response. So, and there's a system where they can do that they can just go directly to eminent domain. In that process, they do put a council together that consists of various people that we presented against to try to get more money or some kind of reconnection. And by reconnection, we no longer have a trail where you can go from north to south. Now, they did do some considerations for us, and in this, I know, meeting with the city and the city manager at the time, we met with them, and TxDOT in particular, we had a lot of asks, and it was too much. Things like buried power lines, and the reason being that the cost could possibly kill the project, and if we killed the project, then traffic would go down Dietz Elkhorn for people cutting across from I-10 to 3351, which they do today. And by widening the road, eventually that would kind of mitigate some of that and keep our neighborhoods peaceful. So we're not against TxDOT doing the expansion. They did a big deal for us in terms of the bridge height is such that a horse can go on the north side, can go under the bridge and have direct access to the wilderness acreage out there in the Arbors, which is the Arbors Preserve, which is a beautiful site. It's a big thing for our city to have that access. And so the north can now take a horse and go directly to that area once that bridge is complete. They did also do a lot of design consideration for pedestrian, bicycle travel across the bridge. So when they finish it, you'll notice that on the city side, there's a wide path for bicyclists and safe. But they made it safe with a barrier for the bicyclists, pedestrians, and there's a pedestrian path on the other side, on the eastern side of the bridge. And then, so basically a jogger could leave the north side and safely travel through public access, it's public because it's TxDOT, and get to the south side pretty safely. What you couldn't do is and that's why I put the 2 purple X's. If you look at those purple X's, that still belongs to 4HA, and TxDOT will take that. And when they do take that, and they widen the road, right now you could still take a horse, and TxDOT doesn't mind. I've talked to them. You could take a horse down that green way, so you could be connected today, but you won't be in the future. So my idea is that where you see the purple circle, which is the 3351 and Dietz Elkhorn, that we consider a underpass, and a public underpass, primarily for safety, so people could cross between the two, and the south of Fair Oaks Ranch would have access to the Arbors Preserve via, bicycle, horseback, whatever. Next slide. I just did some, just in terms of public safety considerations, did some Googling on the internet, and this is from Delaware, where the public outrage was they were trying to get an underpass, or still trying to get an underpass built, and saying it's, I don't know if that's a real accident, but maybe that's what they said, is we need you need it for public safety because people will want to use those trailways. Next slide. So this is just me trying to look for any ideas, horses that could go underneath. Obviously, that's probably someplace in Colorado or something. And then next slide. And the same could be said for bicycle use. And I've tried to look for something minimal impact and minimal. And I've looked all up and down the road. There are other places you could make that underpass, which Pimlico would be one place. And then next slide. And then just to let you know what is now on the TxDOT timeline, it's now gone from it's not funded, but it's now an actual project. And the stage that they're at least saying, the anticipated stages, are actually schematic. I reached out to my TxDOT link on the, for the project manager for the bridge, and Anna Hill told me that the person for the project design has been named. She knows that. She didn't have the name, but she was looking for it for me. I haven't bothered her over the holidays. So I'm going to, again, and I've tried to reach out on this and didn't get a response from their voicemail yet, but I'll continue to do that. And my idea for MDD is it does satisfy the safety aspect. It's improved safety. It is something that is a benefit to pretty much everybody in the community, even the public. Even the public, you know, I ride outdoors, and 3351 I don't ride along. The only time I take it is when I want to get on the north side. I do about 2/10 of a mile to get past the fire station to link on the north side. But I see people use it, and I know people that use it, and it's very dangerous. So you know, San Antonio in general is moving towards more trail systems and linking up. And they do plan, I'm pretty sure that there is a plan to put a reasonable space for bicyclists to come down all the way from 46 to I-10. I mean, they even put, and I do use this, a bike lane on the I-10 access road coming from all the way, you can access the trails from Fair Oaks, is what I'm saying, the downtown trails. So there's this idea in general that trails are good and they're healthy for the community. It's benefits the public. And my point is that if 3351 becomes utilized by these bicycle groups, like the group out of Bernie that comes down through Fair Oaks, like a Wave, or even the Air Force guys, I ride with them sometimes, and they come through Fair Oaks, but that's a smaller group. Those guys would use this. And what I'm saying is there'll be increased bicycle use through our community, so it would be something that would allow passage underneath 3351, could benefit a lot of people. So it would have it would look good for Fair Oaks Ranch and benefit all the members. I'm going to, since on the Forha side, when TxDOT does come after those the rest of our trails, then I'll do everything I can to get them to, and they did in the past, consider doing an overpass there for the safety of the school. So I've heard that's off the table, but I don't know because I'm not talking to the guys. But they should at least consider it. And so I'll make sure that there's a consideration first, so maybe the MDD wouldn't have to do anything. But I'd like to at least have it open for discussion and a possible use of funds.
Can I suggest you work with someone on city staff, because we are already engaged with TxDOT specifically about this. There's been multiple meetings over the last, I don't know, 8 years on that particular intersection. Restarted, what was that, like, Scott, maybe 6 months ago, it kind of re-jumped up again. Yeah, so we have regular meetings with TxDOT. There are graded solutions they are considering for that intersection. I don't think that they were considering overpasses. They were
When I said overpass, they were thinking about making 3351 an overpass at one time.
That was not one of the
Okay.
considerations that they had. It was lowering it. Because when you do over, you're making more noise, and that's a big problem. And so one of the options was to lower through that intersection, past those houses, and then in that case, it would be at ground level across, not an overpass. But I get your point, right? And so something where that is more accessible across there without having to go over a highway. Thank you. Any other questions on that? Okay. Ruben, I don't know if you had any ideas?
Sure, just high-level concepts. Could we, because I think part of the grant for the Gateway feature was because it was considered an open-air improvement, at least that was one of the factors. And so could we do some sort of beautification to the parkway, the median, assuming that's, in terms of landscaping, maybe xeriscaping, conserve water. If we could sort of fund a beautification of the middle of the parkway.
Okay.
Another thing, could we fund or help fund more oak wilt prevention? Keeps increasing every year, and I know we have that fund through the city, and it gets, I think, rather quickly. And so I think that'd be a good use of money, is to make sure that everyone that's experiencing oak wilt can have a chance to have some sort of cost sharing. That way they're not, I guess they're incentivized to get their trees taken care of, and it doesn't, prevent further spread. And then another thing, just straight through the statute, is could we look into some sort of recreational facility, because that is allowed from the MDD, whether it's parks, fields, gym, something that would benefit the entire community. I think that would also capture sort of Nick's idea of purchasing land, because that would be something that would need to be done. So those are sort of high level. Could we look into recreational facility for the city, beautification, oak wilt prevention?
If I could
Perfect.
add something on that.
Yes, please do.
On the oak wilt prevention, I know the city has a annual tree giveaway. That could be factored into that, putting out oak wilt resistant trees, things like that. That would be a great project.
Fall into the small, if it's small category.
Oh, great idea.
A pool?
Yeah, an auditorium?
Yeah. Mandatory.
Not in time for me, so sorry. Okay, Keith, any ideas?
I think the one I was thinking, I think Ruben just mentioned it just now, more like, we have quite a number of younger families, and the area has changed significantly over the last 20 years. How could we do something recreationally focused for families, and to I don't know, and this would be more legal questions too. Could we partner with deals and things like that with Forha? Is there a way to do that, as long as the public had access to it? Forha would permit that. Do a joint venture with them to kind of create, because we've got some spaces out there that they could make the land available. We do the development of the facility, but anybody could use it type thing, even though Forha might own it. They'd designate it for this purpose per se. Again, we're talking ideas, whether it's doable or not, I don't know, but I was thinking there is, without having to go buy land, maybe there is land available that we could work some kind of structure that would allow that public to access it. So I was really focusing on the recreation side because of the whole structure of our cities. Young families, they need places. There's nowhere to go shoot baskets. You have to go over to the school and go on the school grounds. There's nowhere to really practice baseball or anything except right here. So a lot of options there.
Yeah, I'll make a comment from the Forha side. There's a lot of land that Forha has that they don't necessarily really want, but we inherited it because the builders, gave it to us. There's a lot of space out there. If you have time to come by the Forha office, both Shelley and Jessica have a large map and just kind of point it out to for some brainstorming ideas. Where are spots to put it. The Boots Gabbets Park is actually in the flood zone. So when I installed that playset there, they were real concerned that it would get washed out. So it's concreted in pretty strong, but it hadn't, since I've lived here, it hadn't washed out. But it is in that's a consideration for instance. So there's a lot of that kind of land around that Forha has that if we mow it, we're okay with it. But it could be a basketball pad. That's.
Oh, no. We had this fight multiple times about basketball, and that is not something you want to do because it draws people from outside the city. I think that what you want to do is have something out of the parks if you can do it.
That's what I was getting at. There's property outside of the parks.
Yeah, but you still have the DME people that are going to be upset with you when you do that.
If it's DME.
Huh?
If it's near DME.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there may be other
but
places not.
Any other subdivision out there is not going to want that because of the traffic and the noise.
I think, maybe let me interject, I don't think we're trying to evaluate the pros and cons today. We're just trying to throw ideas out. So I wouldn't oppose anything at the moment.
Yeah.
Not.
Just saying that.
I'm reacting because I just got made president of the HOA.
Yeah.
But I think what he's saying is the land he's talking about may have nothing to do with your area.
Right.
Maybe
That's-
in a completely
I
different
have no
area.
problem with that.
Recreational facilities, most of the kids here in the city, they'll join some sort of league, and they're either going to Bernie, the city park area, or the baseball fields, or they'll use the playground at the school. And I know that the apartment complex just outside the city on Deeds Elkhorn, they put in this turf field. It is used all the time.
Oh, yeah, I see it, yeah.
And so if we could look into providing a space, and whether, obviously you need some sort of security aspect to where it's not accessed by the public 24/7. Some sort of, you have to be a resident of the city, or you could rent it out to, soccer clubs or, little league teams, and recoup some of the cost that way too.
I have a couple ideas. So I also had the purchase land idea, and the reason that came up is because I often get unsolicited emails as the MDD president, because I'm on some list somewhere, I don't know. And I get emails all the time that says, did you know you can purchase land as an MDD? And so there's a lot of people that want to help us do that, by the way. They keep on sending me emails. I do not read them yet, but I can. So I know it is an option. And there's a lot of ideas I had, and most of them relate to purchasing land to protect it for a particular use. So purchase land, change the zoning. So change it to an agricultural or a recreational to support something that we would want in that area versus what is currently in it. So that is an option. I'll tell you, I take a lot of vacation to Montana. There are lots of organizations that do that in Montana to protect it from growth. They have the same problem. Everybody trying to come up there, I mean, you've seen Yellowstone, come up there and try to build gigantic things in these wonderful open spaces. They're trying to conserve it, and they have organizations that come in, purchase land for the purposes of putting some type of exemption on it or some type of zoning on it to protect it as an open space for perpetuity or for whatever reason. So that is an option to protect the growth within Fair Oaks Ranch. But I also don't envision us keeping the land forever. It would be for the purposes of then incentivizing or bringing in or people that will then take ownership of it, and then we move on, right? So, and of course, I'm not trying to do it to raise money. Having money is our problem. So if,
It's a happy problem.
right? And so it's really to encourage someone to come and purchase that property that meets what we want as a city. And as the property owner, you can do that, right? So, and so you could either use it for zoning to protect a karst feature, like you've seen that where people were concerned about that one plot of land in the city because it's karst feature. If that property owner wanted to sell, it could be bought by us. We could then request a particular environmental control over that area, and then it's available, right? So those are different options that we could do in my mind. I also had the thought of purchasing land to encourage recreational facilities as well. I also saw that as something that we're missing in the city. When we went through the first stakeholder meeting, and I would imagine we'll have similar when we do this strategic plan, the assessment that the consultants came in for the city of Fair Oaks Ranch when we were putting together our comprehensive plan, our future land use map, was we have a lot of what they referred to as economic leakage, which means we have a lot of high income people in our city that leave our city to spend their money versus staying in the city and spending it here, because we don't provide, and rightfully so, we don't want to do everything in our city, right? But there are some services like recreational facilities, UPS stores, other things that people would rather stay here and spend their money on. I'm not trying to encourage tourism to the city of Fair Oaks Ranch, but preventing that economic leakage. I think a lot of people would rather spend their money here, increase our sales tax, increase income to the city, increase a reason why people would want to move here. Like one of the one of the things that really was a downside for me when I moved to Fair Oaks Ranch was, and literally the only thing on my list I didn't get until Fair Oaks HEB came here, was that I had to drive 20 miles or 20 minutes to get to the grocery store. You know, to me, that was a big factor in, you know, whether I wanted to move to Fair Oaks Ranch. And then Fair Oaks HEB came in. Did all perfect. Okay, Cruise Christmas. So that's one option. Two, next phase of the gateway feature. So that gateway feature was intended just to be the main entrance. There are other entrances of the city. It's potential to make something maybe not the same size, maybe not the same design, but a smaller version at each of the other entrances so that the other entrances don't feel left behind, because there are other main entrances to the city. And that was kind of always the vision of that gateway committee, was this would be the first one, see how it goes, and then a smaller variation of it at the other main entrances to the city. So that could be a project that the city could propose to us and we could consider as a good idea. Hint, hint. Okay.
Is that committee still?
I don't
Active.
know, we would have to talk to somebody on city council.
I think it's still in, I think
Yeah.
it
The
still
branding committee
exists,
still exists.
but I don't know if they're active right now.
Okay. The other idea I had was either purchase land for and/or encourage the city or somebody to use land that they do have, not that we have a lot, to make a veteran park, like a veteran memorial park. We have a lot of veterans in Fair Oaks Ranch. We also don't have a place to do large ceremonies. Like, we don't have a place where, like, we have, you know, it's Veterans Day, where do we go? We kind of stand on a lawn somewhere, right? Or, you know, or stand on a street across the street from a tree, right? Those are all great things, but like, for somebody, so for a city that has a very large veteran population, having a veteran park where you can go and reflect, you can put your name on there, it can have a little symbols. Most cities have something like that. It could also be used for big ceremonies and stuff like that. So I thought that would be a good draw for our city, something we don't have. And I think most people respect those type of parks. And then one thing that Nolan Keene comes to city council quite a bit about, but is on the same thought that you have, David, is that there is an idea coming from Sports SA or to connect all the trails. They want to connect trails all the way from the Greenbelt down in San Antonio all the way up. And they have drawings of how they want to connect trails that come up through the Dominion, through like Fair Oaks, through all those areas. And it's potential that we could encourage, or we could use some of our funds to support connecting of those trails, so that it's not just connecting the north side of Fair Oaks to the south side of Fair Oaks, which is a great idea, of course, but also connecting a trail in Fair Oaks Ranch to a trail that brings you all the way down to the Missions, you know, and you can get on there and bike. I mean, not that, you know, it's just for a cyclist that want to get out and ride 50 miles without having to get on a road, but that is a nice trail system to be able to connect into. And that is already a project that many people in the San Antonio area are spearheading, and there's a resident in our city who's a really big proponent of it. Actually, there's two. I won't throw their names out. And so it wouldn't have to be a project we have to spearhead from scratch. We could just jump in on and potentially support. Again, those would be public. Those would be things that would draw people to, you know, to want to live here, knowing they can connect to a trail and not have to take the frontage road and I-10 to get down to the Greenbelt. They could potentially take one of those. Now, I think you and I probably ride faster than the speed limit on those trails, but in some ways it is safer. I think the speed limit is 15, yikes, right? I think those were my 4 ideas. They're kind of related to what, and I like your community center thing, but I don't think it would be something we would market and facilitate. I think it would be something we would encourage if came to us, but it would be something that I don't think as an MDD I would push. I would hopefully think it would come to us. And
Say no.
I didn't say no, but I'm saying this, but it's the reason I didn't add it to my list. But it wasn't something I mean, it was something I also thought about. Okay. So I have 12 ideas.
That's what I came up with too,
Okay.
so.
1, purchase land to encourage business and services. 2, scaled back community center. 3, water preservation projects, a combination of small and large projects. 4, underpass or passageway between, across Welfare Road on the Parkway to connect between the trails. 5, beautification of the Parkway. 6, wilt prevention program. Recreational facility for the city. That's number 7. Number 8 was also recreation for families, but partnering with FORHA and other organizations. 9, purchasing land predominantly for zoning and encouragement of recreational and or lack of growth or economic or environmental protection. 10, next phase of the Gateway. 11, a veteran park. And 12, connecting trails through outside the city. Come through for you?
Well, those are ideas, and those are the
Those
ones
are
that
ideas.
we will, I'll get with Amanda, who is recording all of us, so put this into a little bit formal package so we can all see the same thing, and send that out, just so we have a starting point. My committee will at least start taking a look at some of these things. I didn't realize we'd get 12. That's good. It's good. Some of them overlap. I mean, the recreational things, the buy the land. There's a lot of things there's a lot of possibilities here. And I think the only concern I have right now is how do we figure it all out? In 3 months, but that'll be a challenge. That's all I have for the brainstorming. We actually did very good. Of course, Mike isn't here.
Maybe we can get his offline and he could submit it to the committee offline, or to the secretary and she can submit it to committee. I do think there is a potential, I mean, so a strategic plan doesn't have to be like a 40-page book. Like, it could be as simple as setting up, kind of like how we had in the city, like pillars, 3 pillars. We want to focus on this, this, and this, and then 2 or 3 projects under each pillar and decide which ones we want to target when or if we want to do it. I think you could find a way to get it into a strategic type of plan that will then guide the work we do as an MDD for the next 2 or 3 years. Okay, we just finished trying to make this one happen. That didn't happen, now let's try to make this one happen. That happened, and it's up and running. And kind of drive which programs are we gonna work on next. That's really what I envision a strategic plan. It's not has to be a book, it's not like a comprehensive plan, a book. It could just be a couple Excel spreadsheets that are formatted. You know what if you talk to staff, we have some of those type of things. And so typically what we do is we have a strategic plan at the city council level where we had the 5 pillars, we had multiple projects under each one, and then every item that came before city council was tied to either something on the operational budget that we funded or a strategic plan item. And so we wouldn't get off track and hopefully talk about things that weren't on the plan. And I think we did so well that now we need a new one, right? We did them all. So that's great. But I think you could quickly turn that into an easily formatted, working with staff plan once we come up with those. And I think you could probably do an easy rubric of, if you use it, our project assessment sheet, just to sit there and do a quick assessment of.
That's what things were that trying to capture. so we can
Perfect, because then you could take it to the rubric and say, it's a great idea, but not compliant with law. Great idea, we could do it, but only in these constraints, you know?
that's what we're planning on doing.
Yay, I'm excited, that's gonna be perfect. We're keeping you busy, huh? Okay, anything else in the brainstorming or the strategic planning? Is there any comments from anyone in the audience that didn't get a chance to make a comment on any plan? And if there's anyone that has an idea that we haven't thought of, please feel free to send it to any one of us, and we could forward it on to the committee for also possible consideration. With that, I have no more items on the agenda. And so at time, what time is it?
5:05.
5:05, we'll adjourn our MDD meeting.